Before I jump into the introduction for this post, which, by the way, I'm surprised. I just read it after a couple of years of having not really thought about it. It's a really good blog post for a not really great book. Anyway, short story. I used to volunteer for the first LEGO League, which is like a robotics challenge for 9 to 14-year-olds. And one of the things that frustrated me most, I volunteered as photographer, so I got to hover around and sort of see all of the different situations, whether it was technical judging or project judging or the actual competition table. I sort of saw the entire process of this challenge. It was put on by well-meaning engineering adults for 9 to 14-year-old children to learn STEM skills, where they do science, and math and solve problems. Anyway, when adults are judging these children on their ability to think critically, I noticed over the course of 10 years of volunteering as photographer that probably like 60 or 70% of the time, the adults who were tasked with judging whether or not the students were thinking critically or solving problems effectively didn't understand the problem themselves and ended up missing the point of what they were judging, and then marking incorrectly whether or not these students were thinking critically. So I keep that story close to my heart at all times whenever I take adults too seriously. And also especially when reading books like this. Because when it comes to people who are lifelong academics judging whether or not students are thinking critically, often the lifelong academics are the ones who are not thinking critically. And that's not, intended to be as broad a criticism as it sounds, but I think there's no intrinsic property of adulthood that just makes you a good critical thinker, right? There's no like, well, you hit 21 and now you can think critically. That would be nice, because God knows when you hit 21 you need it. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And often kids are way better at being creative and having less bounded boxes to think about their problems in. And as such, they just solve problems easier and more creatively than adults do. And so, I think it's appalling when a book like this is written without asking students what they think the solution might be, which is perhaps the funniest part of the entire post when you read it below, is that the academics do all this really intense studying, and we could go on and on about the problems of social sciences and how they don't apply the scientific method well at all, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. The book has research issues, but that's another thing. Instead, what I think is funny is that let's assume they did all their research well. After they do all this research, while they're trying to draw conclusions, they interview professors and they ask, teachers, what can we make better? What might be the problem? And they never ask the students who they're talking about throughout the entire book, what the problem might be. And I promise you, the students know. Like, well, our class is boring and I have too much homework and I don't have time to care about all this shit and I'm doing a job. Like, it's not a hard problem to solve. It's just you have to ask the people who are enduring it. You don't ask the people who are inflicting it. And that is my short soapbox rant about academically adrift. Unfortunately, I think the people who wrote it were as well. So I hope you enjoy this post. Please don't try to read the book unless you are surrounded by PhDs and are willing to take notes along the way, because it is a mess of words that don't make sense. And I say in the post that I took notes along the way and I had a discussion after every single paragraph in the book, and I promise you that's not an exaggeration. Mom is filming this and we actually had to talk to each other for sometimes 5 to 15 minutes after every single paragraph in this book. It took us 5 weeks to read it. It was nuts. Just read the blog post, don't read the book. Thank you for watching this video. I'll let you get to it. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.